Sabrina 70s comic issue 29. We see Sabrina visiting Harvey at his house for once, and he says he can't work today because he has a cold, and so he'll lose his job as an ice cream vendor. Because of one sick day? They must have had sick days back then. Is he supposed to be seen as just being paranoid here? Sabrina says that she'll take over his job for him. Wouldn't that be not allowed? I'm guessing that'll backfire. Harvey thinks that a girl can't even sell ice cream correctly. That was forced. I could forgive him saying that about construction work or football, even if that's still bad, but this is something anyone could do. That was unnecessary and dated. I guess that's just how it was back in the 70s, where most people even make a big deal out of this. Sabrina is so desperate to prove herself that she says that for big sales, she needs a big gimmick. And she teleports an elephant to her that has the words "buy ice cream" on it. Would she be allowed to keep an elephant with her? Somehow, just because they saw an elephant, a bunch of people want to buy more ice cream. It'd make more sense if she just made it hotter outside and kept it simple, but it'd also be more cruel to everyone else. She starts running out, so she uses magic to refill the truck with ice cream. Then she's so busy that her hands are almost frostbitten from the ice cream. Predictably, a cop gets mad at her for the elephant. He doesn't have time to say that she's not allowed to have one at all. He just says that she's tying up traffic. Fortunately, she's smart enough to make the elephant disappear after this. Then Sabrina goes way overboard and gets rid of the ice cream truck and herself to terrify the cop into running away. Couldn't she have just kept selling ice cream? Maybe she did and there was just a time skip. Couldn't she have just brainwashed the cop into leaving her alone? Like I'd immediately assumed. It is fun trying to dissect the smartest way Sabrina could have acted with her powers. Sabrina says to herself that Harvey will flip when he sees that she made over $500. Then Hilda assumes that she made money with magic and says that only the government can make money. Bullshit! So the evil witch, who's normally encouraging Sabrina to break the rules, makes sure what she assumes is counterfeit money will disappear. And so Harvey gets fired! Wow, this story sucks! It's a shame because it was written brilliantly up to that point. Hilda wants Sabrina to do bad things. She's not Zelda. And you'd think Sabrina would have told her that she was going out to do Harvey's job today. Hilda comes from a society where the women are the dominant gender, so the idea of a woman making money from a job as an ice cream vendor wouldn't be impossible for her to understand. And I know I've seen Sabrina zap up money before. In fact, didn't Hilda zap up a bunch of money to a hobo one time? So the horrible story ends with Sabrina putting an ice cream salesman in the garbage. Because somehow the story unfolded in a horrible way instead of Sabrina just using magic to get the money back in a second. Isn't it obvious that the only one who should have been punished in the end was Hilda? This is a really spiteful story. Sabrina can't even get rewarded for doing a good job. Even if she did cheat with magic, that doesn't mean she deserves this. She was just making people happy with ice cream. In the next story, Hilda looks mad enough to chew nails. That was a weird expression of Sabrina's. And at this point I'm mad at Hilda for the last story. She says that Ambrose has got another girlfriend. In the 90s show, Hilda and Zelda were the ones who kept dating, which made sense. She asks where Ambrose gets girlfriends. I'd like to know the answer because I only ever see him in the house, around Sabrina's family, and occasionally at the beach. I don't know what career he has. So if a writer had a character ask this question, we should get an answer. Hilda says that all of Ambrose's girlfriends are mean to her. Well, why wouldn't they be? Aw man, why didn't we learn what exact insult Hilda got? Instead, Sabrina goes to see Velma, who says there's a definite family resemblance, even to the faint shadow of darker hair on the upper lip. Okay, so Hilda had to be right. Why is Ambrose dating her? Although he doesn't get along with Hilda either. So why would that be a deal breaker? She also insults Hilda's outfit. Why did she keep saying sweet when she doesn't mean it? She also says funny condescendingly, insulting the furniture. And somehow, when magic moves the armchair, Ambrose is angry at Hilda instead of totally understanding. so a bunch of panels are wasted on him telling her off. Right after there's a story where Hilda is irredeemable, I'm immediately given a story where I'm expected to feel bad for her. Velma assumes Sabrina's hands might be grubby. She asks her for some water after that. This is forced. Why would Ambrose date her? I guess he's just that desperate for someone to kiss him. But why would he bring her to the house then? She asks her for some water after that, so Sabrina sends water at her to get her all wet, although she doesn't look nearly wet enough. Sabrina says satisfyingly, "Oh, did you want a glass too?" I wish Ambrose wouldn't complain about this. Normally he's the smart one. Normally he sides with Sabrina. Velma immediately starts talking about getting her own place with him, and taking him to meet her family. It makes sense that she'd be desperate to get serious right away because no one would want to date her. So she's lucky she got anyone. She says that she has 4 older brothers who are all wrestlers. That's impossible. So he decides to scare her away by opening up a door and sapping a bunch of people. That was tedious. I'm forced to assume he was dating Velma for her looks. In the next story, which should hopefully not be awful this time, Sabrina drives Harvey and his friends to a yellow dog saloon, the western ghost town Sabrina promised to take them to. And she thinks that there's a little ghost friend of hers who's anxious for a little action. How did she meet him? Why does he want to scare them? Why does she want to encourage him to scare innocent mortals? I figured the story would disappoint me the second I saw the word ghost in the title, because that seems to curse Sabrina's stories. As I wish I saw these guys do something to deserve this. The ghost rattles the chains, which they don't take seriously because it's overdone. A girl assumes that some people are playing it on a tape recorder. The ghost plays a piano, and the teenagers assume it's a playerless piano that somehow went out with old-fashioned amusement parks. It sure is merciful of this ghost who wants to scare people to start out really small. What about that ghost from the cemetery who summoned monsters? They hurt Jimbo the ghost's feelings, so Sabrina casts a spell to make some clothes approach them, and they run out of the house screaming. Wouldn't it make more sense for Hilda to be in this role? But it's way more interesting to see Sabrina act like this with her powers. At least she's being competent because she's achieving what she actually wanted to do in the first place. Harvey panics at seeing a stagecoach that's riderless and horseless. They all start driving away, and out of nowhere, the committee of ghost inspectors show up to Jimbo, and he's afraid of being banished to the North Pole for sucking at scaring people. Logically, why would ghosts want to scare people? It makes even less sense that they would be hired to scare people away from places. Don't supernatural people want to hide the existence of supernatural stuff? What are the ghosts supposed to spend the money on? There aren't any video games yet. I wish it was explained that ghosts are supposed to scare people away from places of magic where witches are keeping their stuff. Jimbo's given all the credit to have a happy ending for someone who's not a main character. So Sabrina's allowed to succeed at this. Something evil that she shouldn't even care about. In the next story, Harvey reminds Sabrina that tomorrow is the box supper, where women make up a supper and they're auctioned off. The high bid gets to share the supper with the girl who made it. Harvey wants to get Sabrina's, and Sabrina says there will be a clue in the way she'll decorate the box. He looks forward to it, and out of nowhere, some guy spying on them wants Sabrina to eat with him instead. He's drawn to be smirking the whole time to instantly make you hate him. He wants to make a box supper that'll look like Sabrina made it, and the contents of the box would smack Harvey in the face. For no reason, there's a tingling in the back of Sabrina's neck, and she magically senses treachery. I'm guessing this contradicts some of the issues because it didn't show up earlier. She sees the guy from earlier, who she thinks of as a pest. And because Willie's smirking, she reads his mind with her powers, which she wouldn't have been able to do if Willie stayed home instead of walking past them for no reason. Wouldn't she have driven his car? I didn't think Sabrina would find out about his plan at all. At first it seems like Willie's plan is gonna work, and then Sabrina casts a spell. Out loud, so you'd think everyone would hear her. She switches what's in the boxes, so Harvey gets apple pie in his box, and Willie gets humiliated. That's good, but what about Hilda? A character I see a lot more often. The first story started out great. Sabrina gets to do a great job as an ice cream vendor. She somehow thinks that zapping up an elephant will boost sales, and she's right. She should have known she'd get questioned by a cop though. That was convoluted when she could have just brainwashed people into buying her ice cream and justified it as it's good because they're enjoying ice cream. And she could have brainwashed the cop into wanting to leave her alone instead of making him freak out by making things vanish around him. She ends up with $500, and the story should have ended there. Instead, Hilda sees the money, and because Sabrina didn't tell her own aunt what she was doing, she randomly assumes that Sabrina made money with magic, doesn't ask her to confirm, and goes against her entire character by disapproving of Sabrina breaking the law, when no one would be able to find out. I'm sure Hilda's magicked up money before, so Hilda, without even talking to Sabrina first, cast a spell to make the money disappear in an hour, not even a day, not even instantly like I would expect. Sure, Sabrina cheated with magic to get what she wanted, but so what? The story especially made you want to root for her, because Harvey was a sexist to her out of nowhere. So of course we sided with her. And instead of Sabrina immediately undoing Hilda's spell, or even brainwashing Harvey's boss not to fire her, the ending is terrible and someone other than Hilda gets punished. That sucked. And I was impressed at first because Sabrina was actually doing well. The second story is about Ambrose dating a woman who insults everyone she sees in his family. And it's never explained how he met her. And the satisfaction of Velma being punished with magic is undone by Ambrose getting mad about it when she clearly got what she deserved. Somehow, the only reason Ambrose gets fed up with her is because she wants to get serious right away, even though he's only dating her because he's desperate, and not because he wants to stand up for his beloved family members. We're forced to assume the only thing he sees in her is her looks, and the fact that she's into him. The third story is about Sabrina helping a ghost that she somehow is friends with scare some of her friends as opposed to her enemies. Somehow, despite everything we've seen of the ghosts in this comic, the ghost sucks at scaring them. So Sabrina has to step in by making clothes approach them, and the ghost gets all the credit. I wish I was told why there's a committee for ghosting jobs. I guess it's just anti-mortal hatred. The fourth story had an interesting premise. Sabrina has a box supper prepared for Harvey, and some bad guy wants to make a fake box supper with a trap in it to get Harvey mad at Sabrina. I've never heard of that before. But because he insists on walking past Sabrina after preparing the trap, she gets suspicious of his smirk and reads his mind to find out what his plan was. So she switches the contents of the boxes. And the best part is that everyone's happy that the pie got sent to his face. That's nice, but this is just a one-off character who only existed for this story. Not a main character who deserves it a lot more, like Reggie or Veronica.